It started as a whisper, a few tweets, a couple of fan edits, and then suddenly it was everywhere. Austin Butler, fresh off his electrifying performance in Elvis, was being imagined as the next James Bond. The internet didn't just flirt with the idea, it fell head over heels. Fan accounts began flooding timelines with side-by-side comparisons. Butler in a tuxedo, Butler holding a martini, Butler walking in slow motion with the Bond theme swelling in the background. It wasn't just fantasy, it felt inevitable. Entertainment outlets picked up the buzz. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. YouTube thumbnails screamed "Next Bond confirmed." And TikTok edits turned Butler into a full-blown MI6 agent. The timing was perfect. Daniel Craig had stepped down, the franchise was in transition, and fans were hungry for a new face. Someone fresh, magnetic, and unexpected. Butler had the looks, the voice, the intensity. He had the kind of screen presence that made people lean in, and more than anything, he had momentum. But then came the twist. In an interview with Hits Radio, Butler addressed the speculation directly. And instead of leaning into the hype, he shut it down, gracefully, respectfully, but firmly. "I'm American," he said. "It would feel sacrilegious to play Bond. That role should stay British." The internet paused. Then it exploded again. But this time, with debate. Because Butler hadn't just declined a role. He had challenged the very idea of who Bond could be, and who should be allowed to wear the tux. To understand why Butler's rejection of Bond hit so hard, you have to understand the man behind the fame. Austin Butler didn't come from Hollywood. Royalty. He wasn't born into the spotlight. His journey was slow, deliberate, and filled with quiet hustle. From Disney Channel appearances to supporting roles in teen dramas, Butler spent years building his craft, often unnoticed, often underestimated. He wasn't handed stardom, he earned it. Then came Elvis, a role that demanded everything: physical transformation, vocal mastery, emotional depth, and Butler delivered. Not just as an actor, but as a vessel for one of the most iconic figures in music history. The performance earned him an Oscar nomination. But more than that, it earned him respect. Suddenly, he wasn't just a pretty face, he was a serious contender, a leading man, a name that carried weight. With fame came pressure. Offers poured in. Scripts landed on his desk, and among them, the whispers of Bond grew louder. But Butler didn't chase the spotlight. He chased truth. And when asked about Bond, he didn't play coy. He didn't tease the possibility. He honored the legacy and stepped aside. That decision wasn't just rare, it was radical. In an industry where actors often say yes to everything, Butler said no. Not because he couldn't play Bond, but because he believed someone else should. He understood the cultural weight of the role. He respected its history, and he knew that sometimes the most powerful move is knowing when to step aside. That kind of clarity doesn't come from PR coaching. It comes from identity, from knowing who you are and who you're not. James Bond isn't just a character, he's a cultural institution, a symbol of British elegance, espionage, and cinematic legacy. From Sean Connery to Daniel Craig, the role has always been played by British actors, with accents, mannerisms, and a certain national pride baked into the performance. So when American actors like Austin Butler and Glenn Powell, who also turned down the idea, say Bond should stay British, they're not just making casting decisions, they're making cultural statements. The debate is layered. On one side, fans argue for reinvention. Why not cast an American? Why not break tradition? After all, Bond has evolved from misogynistic playboy to emotionally complex agent. Shouldn't the casting evolve too? On the other side, purists push back. Bond is British. That's the point. The accent, the heritage, the MI6 connection. It's all rooted in British identity. To change that would be to dilute the character's essence. Butler's rejection didn't just fuel this debate, it elevated it. Because he didn't reject Bond out of ego, he rejected it out of respect. And in doing so, he reminded Hollywood and fans that sometimes the most powerful move is knowing when to step aside. His decision wasn't just about nationality, it was about authenticity. About honoring the DNA of a character that has spanned generations. And in a time when franchises are constantly rebooted, recast, and reimagined, Butler's stance felt refreshing. It felt grounded. It felt right, just when fans thought the conversation was over. Butler added a twist. "I'd love to play a Bond villain," he said. And with that, the internet lit up again. Because if Butler isn't going to wear the tuxedo, maybe he'll be the one trying to destroy it. The idea of him as a Bond villain, suave, dangerous, emotionally layered, is cinematic gold. Imagine Butler as a rogue agent, a tech billionaire with a dark past, a charming sociopath with a vendetta against MI6. The possibilities are endless. And fans are already building theories, edits, and dream scenarios. This shift from hero to villain isn't just exciting, it's smart. It allows Butler to enter the Bond universe without compromising its tradition. It gives him creative freedom, and it gives fans a new kind of thrill. Because sometimes the villain steals the show. And Butler has the range to do it. He's proven he can carry a film. He's proven he can transform. And now, he's proving that he can surprise. The villain door isn't just open, it's wide. And if the Bond producers are listening, they'd be wise to walk through it. Because Butler, as a villain, isn't just casting. It's storytelling. It's legacy. It's the kind of move that turns a good film into a great one in the end. Austin Butler's decision isn't just about Bond. It's about legacy, about choosing roles that align with identity, values, and vision. He could have said yes. He could have leaned into the hype, taken the paycheck, and become the face of a global franchise. But he didn't. He chose authenticity over fame, integrity over opportunity, and in doing so, he set a new standard. In a world where actors often chase relevance, Butler chose resonance. He reminded fans in Hollywood that saying no can be just as powerful as saying yes. His story isn't about what he didn't do, it's about what he stood for. And as his career continues to rise, one thing is clear: Austin Butler isn't just a star, he's a storyteller, a craftsman, a man who knows who he is and who he isn't. That kind of clarity is rare. That kind of humility is powerful. And that kind of decision-making is what builds legacy. So whether he plays a Bond villain or chooses a completely different path, Butler has already made his mark. Not by chasing the role everyone wanted him to play, but by choosing the one that felt true. And that, more than any casting headline, is what makes him unforgettable.